Well, I like making food that tastes good, and I don't even mind making food that tastes bad. But if I had to choose, I think I'd pick the former. So if you want to know how to make it a little bit better, but maybe not quite as good as it maybe could be, I think that you should listen to what I'm talking about. And if you learn a little something from this, well, I hope it served a purpose, and hey, that's what we're here for. Good, better. Nailed it! Woo!
Hello, and welcome to the Cook Better podcast. My name is Corey, and I am ready to get into it. I think I'm ready to get into it anyway. I've got just a few things to talk about this week. I did not that great with making meals this week, if I'm going to be honest. I filled out my papers, my list. I've been going strong now for a while. We'll get into that in a little bit. But it's been a busy week, like everybody says whenever you ask them how they're doing or how their week was or whatever. But it's been kind of a weird week for me because my daughter is at camp. She got to go to a summer camp, and she's there with friends, and I'm sure having a ton of fun. But it is weird when somebody that you live with isn't there for a few days. We get to pick her up today, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm curious to hear how things were going with her and everything. So it's just a whole different thing when one of the people that's normally at your house all the time isn't around. But my son and I got to have a lot of fun. You know, when she go, if one of them's gone for somewhere, you take the other one, get to do a few more fun things while they're home. And so my son's 9, and we got to go golfing. He likes going golfing, and I enjoy spending that kind of time together. And I like golfing, so it works out perfect that I really like golfing. And so using him as a good excuse for the two of us to spend some time together and also have fun out and about or out on a golf course, even better. So we got to go do that Tuesday, and he's getting better every day or every time he plays, and hopefully he can not get the same bad habits that I have. And he asked me for help on how to do things as far as golf is concerned anyway. And I try to point him in the right direction, but I'm really not that great. On paper, you would think I might be okay just because I worked for a golf course for when I was in high school, and I was on the high school golf team, and that doesn't translate to actual skill, believe it or not. But that's the beauty of golf. I don't think you talk to many golfers that are where they want to be in their game. But anyway, so I got to do that. And yeah, I mean, otherwise it's just been working out in the yard, getting going on my, I got 8 trees. I think I have 8 trees, 6. I had 8 trees. 2 of them died. My Honeycrisp apple trees did not make it, unfortunately. And there's no bringing those ones back. I left them in the ground last fall. They were looking pretty rough. I had planted them beginning of the summer. Last fall, they were looking like they might not make it, but I figured I better leave them in the ground and see what happens in the spring. Here we are, and they are gone. So, of course, I bought 4 apple trees, 2 of them being Honeycrisp, and then I got a Pink Lady and a Red Delicious. And the Honeycrisp are the apples I really wanted, and those are the 2 trees that didn't make it. But that's kind of part of it, unfortunately. And I'm learning on what I have to do, or I need to learn what I need to do for these trees, because I normally have been getting a couple trees every year. I've got a lot of open space in my backyard, and I figure, why not put trees there? And if I'm going to put trees there, might as well get something that I could possibly get some fruit off of course. So I've got a lot of peach trees. I've got one peach tree that's doing really well, the first one we planted. The other peach trees are just, only a couple peaches on them and aren't going like they should. I think I'm gonna try to find some place. I'm sure there's somebody out there, even if I got to pay them a little bit. If it's not, it'd be a great service to provide. I just don't know what I need to do. I think watering is a big issue. I've got pretty sandy soil, so the water just kind of runs through and drains out quick, and so I have to stay on top. So maybe the tree bags at the base of the tree for a slow release of water would really be beneficial in my situation. I've got mulch around the trees, so that holds a little bit of the moisture, but I still think it's draining through quite rapidly. And the beauty of peach trees is they're really peach and pear trees can be a real low maintenance tree, but I don't know what I'm doing. So I'm going to see if I can find somebody who can just come out to the property and say, here's what you got going on. Here's what you need to do to get some good yield on fruit. I don't know if that's a service that's offered, but I imagine it is. And we've got some nurseries around us, and I didn't plant more trees. I think I mentioned this before, but I'm trying to dial back on my ambition a little bit because I've not taken care of what I have correctly, and I would like to spend my time and effort in figuring out how to, how to make the most out of what I already have. Once I learn how to properly care for like the fruit trees and what I need to do, then and show some positive, a good outcome from all the effort, then maybe go, okay, now I can add some more to the mini orchard I'm trying to create. It doesn't work well just to have 20 trees out there that are doing absolutely nothing. So, at the end of the day, they're still growing and they got leaves on them. They're a tree. They look good. I love having trees, but they're just not producing the way that they should, except for just the one for whatever reason. That being said, I also, like I do every year, did a little bit more with the vegetable garden, so to speak, than I planned on doing. It's still dialed back, and I didn't get too crazy with it, but I had planted 5 rows of corn. I planted another 5, which I had kind of offset planting. I don't know if that's the real term, but that way they're not all ready to pick at the same time, and I've got, in theory, hopefully, 200 ears of corn all at once that I don't know what to do with. So now, it'd be more than that if every stalk grows and produces a few ears. So I did it a few weeks apart. That way I can get, actually, with the 5 rows I planted, if they all grow, whatever, and are all edible, that will be close to 200 just on those 5 rows. And then 3 weeks later, in theory, I'll have another few hundred that I can manage. And that's a little more manageable when you do it that way. Now, last year, good enough to eat, I got 6 ears of corn. And I planted more stalks last year than I did this year, again, trying to dial it back and just make it a little more manageable. I think I've got the weed situation under control. Doing it in my backyard is different than the way farmers do it. And I don't want to use Roundup Ready corn or seed and spray chemicals all over. I don't want to do it that way. I just don't want to use chemicals. So this time I rolled out weed fabric and planted them. I've got really heavy duty weed fabric, and then I planted the corn, and so I get a few weeds poking through the hole where the stalk is at, but the rest of it is all weed fabric. So I've taken care of the weed issue I had last year. Last year the weeds got so out of hand that they were getting almost as tall as the corn was itself. So hopefully that's mitigated this year. And I also planted some tomato plants last night. I was given some by my brother, which was awesome. Free is always good. And then I got jalapeno and zucchini and some squash from my mom, who had planted a whole bunch and had just a couple left over that she didn't want. So I'm going to attempt to grow those. And I also purchased 4 from the local greenhouse. And those ones were looking really good, obviously. So I have a tendency to kill whatever I plant, or it just doesn't grow, period. So we'll see how that turns out, but I'm looking forward to it. And I like that I just have like 8 plants. It really should be an easy thing to keep up on the weeding around that small of an amount of plant. We'll see if that actually happens. That's my downfall with gardening is I don't weed. And so I don't have an excuse for why. I just don't do it. And so we'll try again this year, see what happens. I didn't plant herbs this year. I've done it in the past, and I built this really neat little herb ladder type thing. It's not like out of a pallet. It actually has buckets, and I love fresh herbs, but they didn't grow the greatest. And I think where I had them set at my house, and again, the watering was the issue last year. And so I didn't do that. I may move them out into the yard by the corn and put some herbs in there. And that way, all I got to do is when I turn the sprinkler on for watering the corn and the tomatoes, the herbs will get hit as well, but we'll see. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with that. I do like fresh herbs, but I've gotten to the point where I will buy them, and the ones I need for the meals when I'm planning, and then I'm good to go. And I don't necessarily I'm not drying them and making my own dried herbs. So there's really, and I don't anticipate doing that in the near future. So there's really not a need for me to have this massive pile of parsley. I can just grab some at the store. It is a lot more fun, and it's neat, and it looks pretty, smells good to grow it yourself. But this year for me, I'm not doing the herbs. So we'll see. Other than that, yeah, it's been working outside, In the summertime, you got to mow your grass. You got to try to keep up on stuff. We've got a pool. I've said before, this is a Best Way pool, not a nothing real fancy, but it really is great. It keeps you cool when it's hot out, and that's all you can really ask for a pool. I can't dive into it, can't even slide into it, but I can get in there and sit in there, and I did that this week, but there's a little maintenance involved in that for sure. So we got into that. I think that's about all this week. Oh, I did make one big life choice this week. And it may seem trivial to some, but I finally broke down and bought myself a cowboy hat. Now, I wanted to get a cowboy hat for quite a while. And in all honesty, my wife is opposed to me buying a cowboy hat because she doesn't think that I will wear it and doesn't know where I would wear it. And I said, it's a cowboy hat. You can wear it anywhere. And she was also not really I've been wearing cowboy boots now for about 5 years. And when I first said I wanted to get some, she said, no, you don't wear cowboy boots. You don't need to get, and I said, well, yeah, because I don't have any cowboy boots. And then I got some, and now that's all I wear, unless I'm wearing shorts. I'm not one of them people that'll be out in shorts and wearing cowboy boots. That's not a good look, or a comfortable look for that matter. So that I don't do, but I've always wanted a cowboy hat, and I just like the way they look, and they're also, in my opinion, I think they're very practical. I wear a hat all the time, and like a baseball cap, and they're good, especially when you're working outside. It does block a little bit of the sun. If I wear it forward, obviously it blocks out of your eyes a little bit. But if you wear it backward, it helps keep the sun off your neck a little bit, which is helpful. And a cowboy hat is a beautiful thing because it kind of does that all the way around your head. It keeps the sun out of your eyes. So I really have wanted one for practical reasons. But but I also like the way they look. And I really don't have a style. I'm not I don't pay attention to clothing enough to have a real style. And so my style, and as I'm getting older, I'm realizing too that who cares? What if you can go too far with the comfort, as far as way too many people wear, in my opinion, are just comfortable with wearing pajamas in public. I'm not that, but I also want to be comfortable, and I don't really care if I look a little goofy. And I think that's part of being a dad, is hopefully embarrassing your children by the way you dress a little bit, It's a perk of the job, I suppose. But, so I got a cowboy hat, a straw cowboy hat, and I wore it last night when I was planning everything, and it's nice not to have sunburned ears or neck. So, a beautiful thing. And it was I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'll be out in public a whole bunch with it. I do feel a little, I kind of live in the country-ish, and so it's not out of the question for somebody to be wearing it. And I've never thought of anybody that I've looked at. There's been one or two people that I know that I've seen wearing cowboy hats that I thought that does not quite look correct. But if I see somebody with a cowboy hat, I never think, man, that guy just is a goober, And so I don't think, but maybe I don't judge people quite as much as other people might judge me and look at me and go, why are you wearing that? But hey, I also don't care. So there's that. But anyway, real important on a food podcast to discuss headwear. And so there that is. I think it's, let's get into it. Let's get into some food. That's what you're here for, right? I think we better get going.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, if I can direct your attention to the meals from last week.
I don't know. We're going to get into it. It's not as exciting of a preparation or meals as it probably should be. But again, I'm at about maybe 50%, something like that. I don't know. I guess that's good on some metrics, I suppose. But it doesn't. I definitely think I can do better. I need to do better. But like I said, same excuse everybody else has as well. You get busy, especially in the summertime. There's nothing else to do, or there's plenty of other things to do. In the winter, there's not, at least it appears, you're in the snow and you're doing things and you're not going out golfing. You're shoveling a driveway maybe, but it's easier to be consistent with cooking, and I just find it difficult in the summer. So that's kind of why I wanted to do this, to really look and go, man, I have not kept up on cooking here very well. But I guess I better get into it. So, like I said, my daughter is at camp, and we dropped her off. And when we did, we went out for Mexican food, and it was great. Good restaurant. This is a place that we've gone a few times. It's I've never been in Mexico, and so I don't know how authentic it is, but it is definitely leaning towards the authentic Mexican food. And so we like to go there, and I got a chimichanga. Chicken. It ended up being chicken. I actually asked for beef, and it came, and I took a couple bites, and then, wait a minute, I asked for beef. This is chicken. You know, but I don't know. I didn't send it back. I didn't complain. I didn't even mention it. I don't know. I like chicken. There's nothing wrong with chicken, and it tastes really good. And it had beans and rice with it, of course, and but I don't know. I'm not one at a restaurant to really complain. And there's an argument to be made of just saying, hey, I'll eat this, but I did order beef, you know, and this is chicken. But it's fine, just so you know you didn't get my order right. I don't know if that'd be a jerk thing to do. I don't think so, because I know some people who would go, this isn't what I ordered. Take it back, give me something new, and then they just throw that away. But, or maybe somebody else would eat it in the kitchen or whatever. But I don't know. I never worked at a restaurant. I wish I did. I wish I had a little experience to just to have. That's one thing in my, I've never done. Worked in a restaurant. But anyway, I didn't complain. I don't know. Should I? Maybe. Does it matter? No. It was still really good. I was on the fence of going chicken or beef anyway, and they came with 2 chimichangas, and they ended up both being chicken, even though I ordered beef. But what are you going to do? And then the next night, I made, I had mentioned last week that the unfortunate discovery of the quality of brats that I had purchased from Aldi. And, of course, they taste so good and just terrible for you. A 0 out of 100 for the quality of the ingredients, but definitely tastes good. And we had bought 2 packages, and I am not a millionaire. I'm not, and maybe I should have, when I found out they were that bad, thrown them out, but not going to do that. So we made up the second package. I did the same way. I really like using a tortilla in place of a bun every once in a while. So I did like I did the other time. Instead of a hot dog bun or a brat bun, roll it up in a tortilla with some cheese and then have it that way. It's just a slightly different flavor and different experience. It's not. I like a hot dog, like a stadium hot dog on a bun. Brats on a bun of any kind of are they're not my favorite. And only because they're such a pain to eat. You got to open your mouth so wide to get the food to take a bite because of the size of a brat that it's not my favorite thing. So by wrapping it in a tortilla, a little bit more manageable. And we had tortillas in the house. Again, this is kind of and it's a quick meal and something easy to do. I like to, anytime I do anything with a tortilla, I really do like to sear it, at least like that. Yeah, I'll do it with a burrito sometimes too, not every time, but I like to sear it closed and get a little browning on there. I like what that does. It's just an added texture and added flavor when you sear your tortillas shut. And so, but I did that with the cheese brat. We had macaroni and cheese. Kids love macaroni and cheese. I love macaroni and cheese. Who doesn't? And that was so brats and macaroni and cheese was the meal for that day. Then we get a little bit better. So I also did, let's see, what did we do? Had some chicken. I love chicken, obviously. I've been getting it from Otto's, a local place to me. Just a good quality chicken, not insanely pumped full of water and all the other stuff. And we're not talking 3-inch thick chicken breasts. They seem to me to be what a chicken breast should be. And there is a little bit better flavor too in the texture of the meat. It's really interesting how tight the fibers are compared to some of the stuff I've gotten from, say, Walmart or whatever. It is a little bit different. If you can find it, if you can find a local place to buy your meat from, try it. And at the very least, like I said, give it a try. Because you might be pleasantly surprised. I know I was. I'm like, how much of a difference is there really? But it is quite a bit different. But anyway, I took the chicken breast and I marinated them overnight. So I had used just a relatively simple marinade, and I'll put them in a Ziploc bag. And then I will do, like with this one, I did some honey, a little Dijon mustard, and some apple cider vinegar, and then some salt. And that's all it was. And then put it over, or put it in a Ziploc bag, put it in the refrigerator overnight. And then these ones we grilled, and they were obviously really good. it's chicken breast. So I like that sweet, that honey mustard flavor almost. The Dijon gives it a little bit more of a bite than you would with a regular yellow mustard. But then again, what's the it's not a big deal to do that because you really don't taste the mustard a whole lot. I did have Dijon. If I didn't have Dijon, or if you don't have Dijon, just use regular. I don't think it's that big of a difference, but in theory, there's a little more tang, a little more bite in a Dijon mustard. The next night I did chicken again, and this one was a stuffed chicken breast, and that's what today's episode is going to be on, so I'm not going to go too far into that. The following night, I think my wife was gone doing something, and so it was just me and my son. Again, my daughter's at camp, so my son and we did full bachelor food because we were out and about doing stuff outside and didn't really want to make anything. We had some pizza rolls in the freezer. We just made some pizza rolls, and that was our meal: pizza rolls and some chips. The next night, I didn't even make dinner. Didn't have dinner. It was kind of a cereal or something like that type of day. We were running around, and that was kind of a fend for yourself type of day. And then last night we had some pizza from Russo's Pizza, a local place-ish. I don't really know how, they're local, but I don't know how many stores they have, but it was really good pizza. And, like I said, I didn't do well the chicken breast, and for a couple of nights we had some Mexican food, some brats. Is this acceptable? I guess. What am I going to do about it? That's what we did for dinner. There's a lot of room for improvement. That's what I like about this. And maybe you're saying to yourself, well, I've been doing this. I'm saying to myself, I don't know why I need to put words in your mouth. I've got to challenge myself, when I look at this. And that's the cool thing about writing it down. It's in ink, not pencil. And so I can't erase and change it. But this is the reality of what I've had for, what I've been making. Or what I've not been making is maybe the problem. And even the stuff that I made, is it the best choice? Is it good, healthy food? Well, no, not always. But there's room for improvement, and I do really like to be able to look back. I've got about 6 months already, since I've been doing this, but 4 or 5 months for sure. And so it is really neat. Do it yourself. And be honest. Like I said, pizza rolls, and I dip those in ranch because I'm from the Midwest, and it tastes good. And so if you eat garbage, be honest with yourself. Write it down. It's just a fun experiment, and it doesn't take any time to quick scribble it down. So that's what I did last week. But let's get into the stuffed chicken, because that's what this episode is going to be all about. And this is something that there are many, many variations and ways to do, but I made this week, and it was so good. So good. And very easy to do. And if you've never done it, I would suggest that maybe give this a try, because it really doesn't involve a lot of or it doesn't have to. It can involve a little extra technique, but or I don't know, extra technique is the correct phrase, but it can involve. It can be complicated, but it can also be very simple. And what I did was, I would say, on the simple end, but the flavor that I ended up with was on the complex side. And I was very pleasantly surprised with how it turned out. And you all know that chicken, kind of, the beauty of it is that it takes on whatever flavor you cook it with, right? In a way, every food does. But some foods just take flavor better than others. And, if you did this, you can do like a stuffed steak type of a situation where you'd kind of roll it. You maybe have seen somebody kind of roll beef in a way. Maybe you haven't. It's a thing to do. But if you can envision in your mind, at least I can picture anything with chicken, it just seems to flow well together. And there are certain things where I wouldn't mix beef with, or lamb, or even necessarily pork. Takes flavor of whatever you're cooking with it pretty well too. But chicken just does. Anything you put with chicken is going to be good. I guess that's my point to it. I haven't done any combination where I went, oh, that was, boy, don't do that with chicken, you know. It always seems to work out pretty well. But this was a simple thing. I saw a recipe, and I like to read through recipes, and there are some that I'll follow to the T. But as I've said before, that's the thing I like about cooking, is that, as opposed to baking, even though I do enjoy baking, that you can just, you can kind of mix and put quantities, whatever you feel might be right. Whatever you feel, just dump it in there. Put it in there, a little bit of this. I'm going to add a little extra of that. And if you cook for a while, you start to know what flavors are going to go together and what ratios are probably going to work well, what ones are, the only thing you don't want to do is put too much salt. You can't come back from that. Or maybe too much, there's limits. You can say with anything, you're not going to go crazy, but within reason. Cooking is just, so when I read through a recipe, I say all that to say that when I read through a recipe, I'm looking more for general flavor combinations or general ideas, or mainly I look up recipes just for cook times, to be honest. Like with this stuffed chicken, I kind of knew what I wanted to put in it, but I don't know how long, if I heat the oven to whatever, roughly how many minutes should it be in there. Now, I always check my chicken, especially with a meat thermometer. So I know I'm not gonna ever undercook chicken, but I would like to know, because I'm cooking a side dish with it. In this case, I did some Brussels sprouts. I want to know how long it takes roughly, just so I can know when to start cooking my Brussels sprouts, so that everything gets done at the same time. So, because you can cook a chicken at 200 degrees, it's just going to take 4 hours. Or in this case, I did it at 425. I've been doing it a lot more where I'm cooking my chicken breast hot and fast. And it's really ended up with it just seems to keep the juices in more. I don't know if there's any science to that, or if that's even necessarily true. That just seems to be my perception, or that is my perception of cooking it high at like 425 instead of down at 350. It's a faster cook time, and I don't know if because it's faster, that the outside seals in a way to hold the juices in, because it's the outside's getting hotter faster, or what the reason might be. But I just know that when I do cook chicken breast, especially at 350, it takes about 50 minutes or close to an hour, and I've just noticed that then it tends to be a little bit drier. So maybe, and I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Try it if you've never done it. If you always cook your chicken at 350, try doing it at 425. It takes about 20 to maybe 30 minutes. Pull it out and check it. I also like to put it in a cast iron pan myself. That's what I did here. And, I just get really juicy chicken. But with this chicken breast, stuffed chicken breast, what is it? It just stuffed. Obviously, that means something's inside. I had my son help me here, which is great. I love that he is showing an interest in cooking. It's something we can do together. I love playing video games with my son, or my daughter, for that matter. My daughter does like to play Minecraft. I love playing video games with my kids. But I really like cooking with my kids, and they're getting to the age now where they can actually help. There was a while where I don't really want them to help because it's not really help. It's more work and takes longer. But now they're getting to the age, and maybe it's probably something to do as well with them, me allowing them to actually help me. And it is so, and I'm preaching to myself here, they're never going to get better at it or faster or more helpful by not doing it, right? They can be 20 years old, and if I'm just waiting for them to magically develop a skill that they have had no instruction or practice in, and just somehow know how to do it on their own, they can be 20 years old and still be just as useless. That's harsh, useless, but not have any idea how to do it as they are at 7 years old because nobody taught them or gave them the opportunity to practice. Now, I'm going to be mindful of a hot oven or a open flame. You got to be smart in what you let your kids do, obviously, and careful with a knife. There's some things that a young kid might not really fully understand, that a sharp knife is not whatever. And so I think there's a lot to that, but I do enjoy having them help because now they're interested in it and they are getting better. And that's just because they've been practicing by helping. That's the only way to get better at something, is just to do it, right? That goes with anything, not just cooking. Same thing with helping out in the yard with me. I love that they would want to help. They don't always want to help. Sometimes I have to make them help because you're part of this family too, and I can't do everything myself. And my wife feels the same way. So, but when we're talking cooking, anyway, I don't know how I got off that, but my son asked, he said, well, how do we stuff the chicken? How do you put it inside? We're learning here. And I said, we have to butterfly it. And that's what you have to do. Butterfly your chicken breast. If you don't know what that is, that's fine. That's what this whole thing's here for. But if you think of, you got a chicken breast sitting on your cutting board, you can cut it width, length, or thickness. And obviously length is the long way. Width would be cutting across the chicken the short way. And the thickness would be kind of down the middle, horizontal. If you're looking at it kind of like that, your length and width are a vertical cut, thickness cut is horizontal. Why it's called a butterfly, I imagine, because when you open it up, you've got two mirror images like you would butterfly wings. And so that's what that may be what that's a reference to. I don't know. It could be something else. That was my explanation, is because why is it called butterfly? Butterflying a chicken. Because when you open it up, it looks like butterfly wings. Isn't that beautiful? But an easy way to do that, you try to, it also creates much more surface area. I've done this before just with a grilled chicken, if I'm grilling chicken. Again, if I'm buying my chicken breast and stuff from Walmart or whatever, they're very thick. And even cooking is key for anything. Whether that's vegetables, that's why we practice our knife skills to cook or to be able to cut up consistent, even-sized pieces of vegetables or whatever it might be, because different sizes mean different cooking times. And by the time the thickest thing is cooked, usually the thinnest thing is been done for a while or now is overcooked. And obviously that depends on what you're doing or what you're cooking. But with chicken breast especially, it can be it can easily get dry. Chicken thighs, that's not quite the case. You can overcook a chicken thigh to a certain extent and not have too much trouble. And it can still be okay, might get a little rubbery. But chicken breast can quickly go from done to overdone. And now we've got a dry, chewy piece of meat that is just terrible. So it's helpful to butterfly that chicken breast just to, if nothing else, create an even thickness across the whole thing. And so, but to make it stuffed, you just kind of, and you're not cutting it all the way through. You're cutting it thickness-wise down the length of the chicken breast, and leaving whatever. If you're going to end up with two halves basically that are a half-inch thick, you stop cutting a half-inch away from that edge, so you kind of fold it over on itself. Now you've got this bigger surface area, which is great for extra, just more seasoning depending on what you're doing or whatever. We're stuffing it. So all we're doing is taking a chicken breast, butterflying it. Now we're going to set whatever our stuffing is kind of right where that hinge point was, and then folding the breast back over. Now you can wrap something in twine. You can butterfly it to where it's pretty thin, and you get like a real thin cut of meat, and roll it up. Smear whatever you're stuffing, in air quotes there, is over the entire butterflied breast, and then tightly roll it up so you have kind of a pinwheel shape. Put some toothpicks through it, and then cook it that way. That's an option, and you'll see some of that with some pesto or some. It'd be great with a little mozzarella, some pesto, maybe some tomatoes cut up, or even putting a tomato sauce in there, almost like a. I'm just thinking out loud here. You could do something like that, and actually now might try it. If you did that, do a little basil, a little pesto, in a marinara, or just fresh tomatoes, some grape tomatoes or something. Cut them up, put them in there, put some mozzarella cheese, roll it up like some sort of cigar, toothpicks in it, and maybe put some panko breadcrumbs around it, some Italian seasoned panko breadcrumbs, a little egg wash to get the panko to stick maybe, and then cook that. That'd be like a crispy outside and kind of that sounds really good. You could dip it in some marinara. I'm hungry. Can you tell? I didn't do any of that, but I bet you that would work. But you could, and that's the cool thing is you can take all these flavors with chicken and you can do that. But that's a great way to get seasoning all throughout. If we just cook this chicken breast and I just season the outside of it, I can do that same thing. I could put pesto and tomato and mozzarella on top. That's great, and it would taste great. But it would also not have that flavor as much all the way throughout. And that's the nice thing with a stuffed chicken is that now you've got it inside, and in the case that I did, I also put some of the mixture on the outside. What is that mixture? I didn't even go through it. Here's what I actually did, not what I'm thinking about at the moment. I did had a little over half a block of cream cheese sitting in the refrigerator from something else. I don't even remember what I had made, but I had half a block left. I saw that there. I had cheddar cheese. I thought, well, you know what? That would go great with this chicken breast. So I took cream cheese and some shredded cheddar cheese that I shredded myself. Whenever I say shredded cheese, it is never from the bag. I may eat pizza rolls dipped in ranch, and I may have the garbage brats wrapped in a tortilla, but I do not I do not buy bags of shredded cheese. It's a weird hill to die on, I understand, and I've got a lot of other areas to improve. That one's the easy one for me. Shred it yourself. I don't need extra cellulose. I work in construction. I'm around insulation and stuff all the time. I get plenty of cellulose in my diet just by breathing as I'm walking through places. I don't need it in my cheese. Shredded cheddar cheese, cream cheese, and then I'm like, what goes good with this? Any chicken recipe you look at on Pinterest, if you just type in chicken dinner, one of the first 5 things that's going to pop up is going to be like marry me chicken or something to that extent. And that always, I think that marry me chicken stuff, some of it's got sun-dried tomatoes and a cream sauce and whatever, but a lot of these recipes will have a ranch seasoning. And if you're not from the United States, or maybe you don't know what a ranch seasoning is, ranch dressing, I know, is big in the Midwest, and we put it on way too many things. But some people might not be familiar with it, but it's a dry seasoning. I don't even know what's in there. I've never made it from scratch myself. There's got to be garlic in there. There's got to be some dill, more than likely. I don't know. You have to look up what is actually in there, because you could just make this dry seasoning yourself. I had a packet, and so I used a little bit of that ranch seasoning, and then I had, and that was it. Ranch seasoning, shredded cheddar cheese, and cream cheese. And I mixed it all up. It was a little bit thick. I did a splash of milk in there just to thin down the mixture a little bit, make it more spreadable. And it ended up being honestly one of the best chicken breast meals that I've had. I was a little worried, any cheese, a melting cheese, like even cheddar, it's not a crazy melting cheese, but can really kind of ooze out, when it gets too hot and the oils and it starts to separate a little bit, and then it just goes everywhere. And cream cheese, I didn't really know how that behaves, but it was one of those things where I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I was a little worried that I'd open the oven after it cooking, and maybe that helps when it's only 20 minutes too at that high temperature instead of being in there for a full hour. Maybe that would have, done something different, but I was really expecting all that cheese just to ooze out and seep everywhere and not be in the chicken like it was originally. But I just smear that mixture inside, fold the chicken breast over, and then I had a little extra because I could only fit so much inside the chicken breast, and I smeared it over the top. Smear is maybe not a word that makes anything sound appetizing. I don't know the chefy way to, maybe there's a term for spreading something over top of the top of it, but that's what I did. Smeared it on there. And then I took toothpicks and kind of just stuck a handful of toothpicks through along that edge because I had folded it back over. I didn't want it to lift, and whether it would or not, I don't know, but I thought that might just help seal everything shut so that it keep everything where it's supposed to be. And so I put it in the oven, like I said, 425 for about 20 minutes, 25 minutes, half hour at most. Check it with a meat thermometer. I'm looking for, the chicken breast to be at 160. And once you got there, then you're good. Sometimes I'll pull it out if it's at like 158 or something like that. I'll just pull it out. If I'm keeping it in the pan, I don't like to take stuff. When I'm using a cast iron pan, I'll just put the cast iron pan on the table. We're eating around the table, and so it's just going to have residual heat, continue to cook a little bit more. But I also want to let it rest. One thing I've learned even over the last year with meat is any kind of meat, after you're done cooking it or heating it up, let it rest. And even if you only let it rest for 5-10 minutes, just do that. And it does something where the juices, once it stops being heated and it starts to cool down, there's something there to where the muscle fibers start to relax or whatever, or maybe they start to stiffen up. I don't know. But it just holds the juices in better and to let it rest. And this is always I take forever to make meals a lot of times. So my wife or kids would be, when are we going to eat? When are we going to eat? And as soon as they see me pull the meat out of the oven or off the grill or whatever, like, all right, time to eat, and sitting at the table waiting. And so I've learned that, and then I do too. I have a hard time waiting. It always smells so good. And why would I want to wait? Let's just eat now. It's done, right? So what I've done for myself as well as for the others that I'm making the food for is usually if I have a side dish, like I said, I want to know how long something's going to take to cook roughly so I can have the sides ready at the same time. I'll start that side dish 5 minutes later than when I normally would, to have them both be done at the exact same time. That way I'm forced to, nope, this isn't done quite yet. And then, like in this case, I had Brussels sprouts. So the Brussels sprouts weren't quite done yet. That forced us to have that extra 5 to 10 minutes of rest time because the other side wasn't done. And I made Brussels sprouts. This time I pan-seared them. The same way I always do when I do a pan-sear, is just to do olive oil, salt, and pepper. I'll put them in a bowl, toss it all together. That's the bare minimum. I had a Brussels sprouts episode. Sometimes I'll have bacon in there, sometimes some red onion. That always tastes really good. But the base level and simplest, just the Brussels sprouts. Let them kind of speak for themselves. Pan-sear them. I've done roasting of them a lot lately, and I really do like roasted. I still prep them the same way. I have them, cut them in half, olive oil, salt, pepper, and then I will roast them. But I pan-seared them this time, mainly because I had the chicken in the oven, and sometimes I'll roast it. At 425 would be a good temperature for roasting, but sometimes I want to keep things a little bit... I don't like to just have it all in the oven with different things. I did them on the pan this time. Okay, so that was kind of the side dish. It would have been good maybe to have a little starch in there, a little rice, little potatoes would have gone great. Some fingerling potatoes, or even a baked potato, or just some good well-seasoned rice. Didn't do any of that. We just had the chicken breast and the vegetables, and it was so good, so good. I'll be making it again. And that cheese mixture on top of the chicken breast, that almost got a bit of a crust on there, created a crust. If you've ever cooked cheese, when the fat separates from whatever the other part of the cheese is, I don't even know, you can make like a fried cheese, just sprinkle some shredded cheese into a pan if you've never done that. It's great to like wrap around a burrito or something, and if you're a real healthy person like me, and it just that fat separates and it gets crispy, starts to get crispy. And so I don't know if kind of the heat did that, but it made like a little bit of a crunchy, crispy crust on top of the chicken breast. Still had all the flavor of the cream cheese, the ranch seasoning, and the shredded cheddar, the same that was on the inside, but it was a different texture. And so it just kind of was, it worked really well because they had the same flavor but a different texture, which is weird, but it's a different experience when you bite into something. If it tastes one way and it's a different texture, it makes it more interesting. And that was a happy little accident, as Bob Ross would say. And I don't know how to do a Bob Ross impression other than a happy little accident. Whatever. And I've been told that my impressions are not, I need to work on them. So I'll spare you any, this week, any impressions, but I'm going to work on it. I'm going to come back and annoy some people. I have no doubt about that, and I'm looking forward to it. But I've got nothing today. But it was a happy little accident, just like Bob Ross says. And speak calm. And deal with it, and that's what's going to happen. And it's great when something like that happens. But it tasted so good, and I'm going to make it again. And I actually think I might try that kind of Italian flavors that I mentioned with the panko and I think that would be great. It'd be like a meat mozzarella stick, pretty much, using chicken. I wonder, you can butterfly it, depending on the chicken breast size. I mean, you can butterfly it again. It'd be real tricky. You have to cut. It'd be tricky to cut. Or, see, I'm thinking out loud again. Rather than try to cut a butterfly again, you wouldn't do that. That would be difficult. You would pound it out. Meat mallet, or if you're like me and don't have a meat mallet, for one, I don't know why. I just haven't bought one yet. But I do know why. Because I have a small saucepan, a little saucepan, butterfly your chicken breast, set some some saran wrap or something over top of it, some clear, saran wrap, clear whatever, and then pound it out with the backside of a real small saucepan. That actually works really good. That's how you get it to be like a 1/4 inch thick. Obviously, then it's going to, as it gets thinner, it's going to spread out in size, width-wise, and then you could roll it up that way if you got it maybe like a 1/4 of an inch thick or something like that. Oh, man. I might have to try that this next week. I can't guarantee I will, but I'm really thinking about doing that. That might be the way to go. I might have an update for you next week. Excuse me, I had to take a drink there. Yeah, perfect time to do that right at the end of the podcast. I'm sorry. I'm not a professional. But that was that, man. Stuffed chicken breast. Try it. Honestly, this past week is the first time in my life I have ever attempted it. And it went great. And I really didn't even follow a recipe. It's just that simple and that easy. And the prep time is about nothing. I mean, you think about how long it takes just to shred a little bit of cheddar cheese, a minute, maybe 2 minutes. Mix that with with some cream cheese and a little seasoning. I mean, we're talking to nothing. The longest part of it is butterflying the chicken. Fold it open, fill it, shut it, and you're ready to go. Smear a little on top if you got extra. If you don't, it's just on the inside's fine too. And it's so good. And I will say I did season the chicken breast. I forgot to mention that. A little salt, a little pepper, a little bit of garlic on the chicken breast itself. Especially if you don't have enough to cover the top of the stuffed breast, you're going to have you want to season the chicken breast itself. I know we're flavoring it and stuffing it with flavor, but especially if you don't have something on top, it's to give it even that extra bit of flavor, you really need to season that chicken breast, or it's just going to be, it's just going to help. Salt really does help. A little salt, a little pepper, a little garlic maybe some onion powder or paprika or whatever. Get creative with it. And just whatever you would do normally. That's the things that I would normally do with a chicken breast. And season it. Don't be afraid to season it. Don't just sprinkle a couple, just do a quick shake and go, yep, it's seasoned. No, it's not. You just kind of just wasted your time. Season the chicken breast. So that's all I've got for this week, man. I tell you, give it a try, though. Really, I can't encourage you enough. I'm disappointed in myself that I have never done it before now. And I will be doing it again. I'm really hoping. I don't want to make promises I can't keep, but I'm hoping that this week I will make that what I just talked about. I really think I'm going to. And people that know me, ask me about it on Wednesday. If you listen and see if I've actually done it. So thank you so much for listening. I really do appreciate it. If you haven't, I would love it if you would rate the show on Spotify or wherever you listen. It really does help me. It helps kind of, they use all what people say in ratings and the amount of comments and all that kind of to decide what podcasts are going to get pushed on the home pages and all the things. I don't want to make work for you. But if you are willing to, it does help me, so I do appreciate it. And, thanks. I think this is episode number 25, and that's awesome. I'm loving it. I'm sorry I'm not always every week in a timely manner. I am trying to do my best, and like everything else in life, there's room for improvement. So I'm trying to get there. But thank you so much. Send me suggestions. I'm still waiting on a couple of people, and you know who you are, who said you were going to give me some show suggestions and haven't yet. And I am open to anything, even if it's something that you do well. I think that's the fear sometimes is even as something you do, you're like, oh, if I ask how to do it, it means I don't know how to do it. Well, maybe not. Maybe there's something you're really good at cooking. And you're just curious, how do other people do it? And I know that's a place I've been in many times. So don't be afraid to, I'm always open for suggestions on episodes. And give me something you do really well, and maybe I can tell you how I screw it up. or maybe I do it all right too. Or maybe it's something I've never tried, like this stuffed chicken breast. And so if you're on the fence of whether or not to suggest something, I would say do it. Do it. I want more topics. Give me something to talk about. I need it, and I would appreciate it. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. I've been on for way too long here, just rambling. And I will continue to ramble, as I am still currently doing, until I hit the stop button and quit recording. So I guess the only thing left to say is that I will see you next time, or talk to you next time. Yep, see, still rambling. All right, I'm leaving. Bye. Really bye.